Today, we're going to dive into the incredible story of a man who just completely defies easy labels. Imagine one of the highest-ranking spiritual leaders in 19th century Siam, who was also, somehow, one of its most important, groundbreaking scientists. Yeah, his story really makes you rethink where faith and reason meet.
So let me just kick things off with a question for you. If you had to guess who the very first meteorologist was in the country we now call Thailand, who comes to mind? Maybe some European advisor? A government official?
Well, the real answer is way more interesting. It was a royal prince who had dedicated his life to being a Buddhist monk. And that's the paradox, the amazing story we're going to unpack right now.
All right, to get how this could even happen, we need to get to know the man himself. His full title was Somdej Phra Mahasamanachao Krom Phraya Pavaresevariyalongkorn. I know, that's a lot, so let's just start from the very beginning.
He was born as Prince Rerk, the 18th son of the vice king. So right from the start, he grew up surrounded by the royal court and became really close with the future King Mongkut, Rama IV, who, by the way, was also famous for championing both Buddhist reform and modern science.
His spiritual path was set pretty early. He became a novice monk at just 13 and then a full monk at 20, when he got the name Panyago, which means one with supreme wisdom. Now, here's a super important detail. He joined the new Thamayut reform movement. This is key, because this wasn't just any old sect. It was a whole intellectual movement in Buddhism that was all about getting back to the original scriptures and, this is the big one, a deep commitment to reason and logic. That foundation is going to shape absolutely everything he does next.
And it was exactly that commitment to reason that led him to his most famous scientific project, something that would make his name known way, way outside the monastery walls.
Before I even tell you what he was studying, I want you to just absorb this number. 45 years. He dedicated himself to one single, meticulous scientific project for 45 years. Just think about that for a second. That's almost half a century of dedication.
So what on earth was he doing with such intense focus? He created something called the Jodamai Hate Banchi Nam Phon, which basically means the rainfall journal. Every single day from 1846 all the way to 1890, he recorded rainfall data. This became the first long-term weather record in the nation's history. But he wasn't just writing down numbers, he was also noting how the weather affected crops, the water levels in the rivers, and the daily lives of the people.
And this is the part that gives me chills. This wasn't just some detached scientific curiosity. His work was a direct extension of his Buddhist beliefs. He saw collecting data, hard, empirical data, as a way to understand the world, so he could help reduce suffering. And for a country of farmers, nothing, and I mean nothing, was more important than the rain.
But measuring the rain, that was just the beginning. His curious, rational mind wasn't going to stop with one field. Pretty soon, he was literally reaching for the stars. He turned his focus from the water falling out of the sky to the planets and stars moving through it. His passion for precision found a brand new and much bigger challenge in the field of astronomy.
The scale of his work here is it's staggering. He didn't just make a few notes. He wrote a whole book of astronomical calculations for a lunar calendar that was accurate for 387 years into the future. That is just incredible.
And this book, the Tamrapakakana, was hugely important for daily life. See, before he did this, different temples would often celebrate holy days on different dates because of mistakes in the old calendars. His super accurate calculations standardized the religious calendar for the entire kingdom. It brought everyone together.
And this really just shows you the insane range of his intellect. I mean, on top of weather and astronomy, he was an architect. He designed the world's tallest stupa. He was an archaeologist who was the very first person to figure out a critical ancient inscription. He was a historian, a master linguist, just a true Renaissance man whose curiosity had no limits.
But his genius wasn't just about analysis and science. All that spiritual depth and intellectual power also found an outlet in the world of sacred art.
He took that same precision, that same deep understanding that he applied to science, and brought it into creating sacred art. And in doing so, he created an artistic legacy that's just as powerful as his scholarly one.
Believe it or not, he's actually credited with starting the whole frog kring amulet tradition in Thailand. The specific one he created, the Phra Kring Pavarese, is now seen as one of the most priceless and revered amulets in the entire country. It shows the medicine Buddha, which is a perfect symbol for a man who used knowledge to help people, and it's believed to bring healing and protection.
So how do we wrap our heads around all this? The monk, the scientist, the historian, the artist, what does it all add up to?
He basically created a brand new model for what a religious leader could be in a changing world, the Phra, or the monk scholar. He proved that faith and reason didn't have to be enemies. In fact, he showed that serious scientific study could actually be a profound expression of your spiritual journey.
You can really think of his entire life as a bridge. At a time when Siam was just starting to open up to the West and all these new scientific ideas were flowing in, he showed them how to embrace this new knowledge without throwing away their country's deep spiritual traditions.
And his influence was just enormous. He eventually climbed to the highest possible position you can have in the Siamese monastic order, becoming the 8th supreme patriarch. From that position, he didn't just guide other monks, he helped guide the entire nation through this critical period of transformation.
So, that leaves us with a pretty big question for our own time, doesn't it? In an age where we're often told that science and faith are on opposite teams, what can we learn from the life of Prince Rerk, a monk who measured the rain, a scholar who calculated the stars, and a leader who showed us all that the search for truth can follow many, many different paths?